What up, YouTube? Jack Taufer, one of Dave Kama's black belts. As you may or may not know, Dave Kama is a 4th degree under Rickson Gracie, one of the dirty dozen, meaning the first 12 Americans to get a black belt. So I'm one of his black belts, and you guys ever see that video, Fight Club, or the movie Fight Club? He's covered in blood, and they ask him, "Is that your blood?" And he's like, "Some of it." Anyway, so I'm not sure if this was my blood or one of my students tonight. I thought that was funny, so I was going to comment on it. Anyway, so I was asked to shoot another video and talk about some of the training that I saw Rickson do. One story came to mind. I was at his academy, and it was a current, but slightly older, but still competitive Jiu-Jitsu. I think he's a 3rd degree. Anyway, still active, really good guy, ex-MMA fighter. But I watched him and Rickson roll. And the guy's known for this insane guard that nobody can pass. And so Rickson ended up in his guard. He ends up passing, and then he goes to what's called 3/4 mount. I don't know if you know what that is, but if the guy's on the bottom, you're basically mounted. So Rickson was basically mounted on this guy, and he wouldn't let the foot go. And Rickson just kept the pressure on him, and finished him for mount. And he was just like, "Man, I had no space. I couldn't go anywhere." And Rickson's like, "You know, you could have let the foot go, and then I wouldn't have got you with that choke." He's like, "Yeah, but I didn't want you to pass my guard." And so Rickson was like, "You know, it was probably better that I passed your guard so you could survive to fight another fight." And he's like, "Okay, let's go again." And so same thing, he goes, pulls butterfly guard, Rickson goes to pass, and I think he caught him with an arm bar, and he literally was just kind of like, "Man, there's just no space." And it was crazy to me. Rickson goes, "You know, how about this? Do you want to work on some attacks?" And this guy's known for his guard and back series, really tricky. So Rickson's like, take my back, put your hooks in." So he does it. Rickson goes, "Just okay, you ready? Okay, go." Rickson escapes and just arm bars him. And the best part of the whole story was this active competitor, and this was 2 years ago. So active competitor as of 2 years ago. He literally sat there in contemplation. He put his head in his hands. And he just looked, and he was just like, there was no space. And then he just kind of like walked off in a little bit of a daze and confusion. But that's actually one thing I learned about from Rickson, is that I think one of the main reasons his jiu-jitsu works gi and no gi, and always in a fight, is that he really controls the space. It's very tight, and there's always pressure. And pressure can be defined in a couple of different ways. You can have attacking pressure, where you're never comfortable and you're always in danger, so you have to move and you start making mistakes. And there's actually physical weight pressure. One of Rickson's black belts, Henry Akins, told me, and I know who the black belt is, but I'm not ever, because what happens in training stays in training, but he was a current Mundial champion, and they rolled and rolled and rolled, and then at the end, Rickson was just cross-side on top of this guy, and he tapped out. And Rickson's like, "Okay, my friend, you know, we're good." And Henry said he went over and asked Rickson, he goes, "Why did he tap?" And Rickson was like, "It was the pressure, just so much pressure." And I think it was from Rickson, it's those both pressures. Physical weight and constant weight on all the parts where you don't want it, and then constantly being untacked, you're constantly uncomfortable, so you can never find comfort, and you never just chill out and relax. So I thought those were two interesting, kind of cool points. I've seen it firsthand. I've experienced it. Actually, one of the last times I rolled with Rickson, he tapped me out from mount, I think 4 times, again and again and again, and I couldn't get out of his mount for the life of me. I tried in the beginning to berserk mode escape, didn't work. I tried to be real technical, that didn't work, and he just always stayed ahead of me. So when I started doing a correct movement, he changed the position, so my current correct movement is now a wrong movement, and now I'm behind. And then I go to do that, and I'm just like, it's like quicksand. You just keep getting worse and worse and worse. So I thought those were some interesting anecdotes or stories about Rickson and his training, and some of the guys that have seen him roll and can attest to it. I remember another story with Rickson. I watched him steamroll through, I think, 6 black belts straight. This was up at Crohn's again. That was the last time I got a fair amount of time learning from him, was when he taught at Crohn's. But at the end of class, he would roll with people. Sometimes he would roll, sometimes he wouldn't, but today he felt like rolling with anybody. So So I asked him, yo Hicks, can we roll please, you know? And he's like, yeah. And I remember he caught me in a choke. He was mounted, he went for a collar choke, and I was able to swim my hand in and, you know, do the comb your hair defense. And this is a really important principle back on that pressure that I learned about. So I had it in there, and I was moving around or whatever, and I oopa'd him, and thankfully I learned a proper oopa from him and it worked. So I oopa'd him, and I ended up inside of his guard, and I had my hand here. So it was just a matter of time. I knew for a fact he was going to burn out his hands or switch to another attack. But little did I know, there's a way you can apply the choke that as my hand was here, and I'm waiting, and he's just patiently keeping the pressure there, and I'm like waiting for his hands to get tired. I know the kid's getting a little uncomfortable, but his hands have to be burning out. And next thing up, my hand is sliding down my face, and my palm is on my neck, and his hand is here on my collar, and this one's just a regular grip. So, so he ended up choking me out through my own hand in my neck after what I thought was a perfect defense while he was mounted. Oopa, still had it. But his pressure and his consistency and his technique, like he's figured out these ways to do a move and just eliminate the defenses and make it like work anyway. He's also got a method for sometimes when you're in that cross collar choke. I've learned this the hard way also. You're in someone's guard, they shoot their hands in, they're doing the cross collar choke, so you stiff arm him here. He's got this thing that he does with his hips. He'll finish you with the choke even if you got your arm straight right in his throat. So it's really neat that he's just figured out these ways to eliminate all the defenses and just kind of start attacking you from all different angles. Same thing one time I asked him to check over the rear naked choke, and he's like, you have all three pressures, this is good. And what's interesting, because I've done seminars around, most people when they do a choke, they've got one pressure. And that's like, it's not necessarily easy to stop, but you can stop it. But when you have these other angles of pressure coming in, it makes the techniques a lot tighter and a lot more efficient and a lot harder to defend. So he finished me with that. We roll again. He caught me with something else. Boom, boom, boom. So my guy sat out. Another black belt. And I watched him just go through 6 black belts. Bang, 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 bang. And none of the rolls were the same. There was a lot of different transitions and positions. Some guys were, one guy from Hawaii, really tall, long black belt. So he dealt with that. A stocky guy, older guys, younger guys. It was just pretty neat to watch him just, even when his back's not doing so hot, his technique is really precise and really clean and really efficient. So that's another Rickson story, and I like it a lot because I'm in it and I learned a good lesson from it. One thing about these stories is there's a lot of people who've got a lot more time in with Rickson than me personally, like Dave Kama, all Rickson's black belts. You know, there's a bunch of people with a lot more time than me, but I cherish those moments that I had with him. And so I'm very fond of some of those stories. I just want to say that there's a lot of guys who are really good, like Kama has spent, I don't even know how much time with him and his other black belts, but those were just some moments that I had and I witnessed firsthand. So I hope you enjoyed it. Hit us up, Kama Jiu-Jitsu. Take care.